Welcome to the BNB Investing Podcast for real estate investors. Fix and flippers and realtors exploring investment options with Airbnbs and short-term rentals through acquisition, leasing, or management to generate consistent monthly revenue. Join us for a chat with experienced and successful short-term rental investors to hear their story of how they got started and created wealth by building scalable businesses. We also explore various service providers and lenders that help make our businesses more efficient and maximize revenue in this awesome sharing economy. Welcome your host, Rich Munroe.
Hey everyone, Rich Munroe here with BNB Investing Group. Thanks for jumping on this week. As a reminder, BNB Investing Group helps investors learn about the short-term rental model and build a scalable business, whether you're going to do master leasing, if you're going to buy properties to do short-term rentals, or if you're going to manage properties for other investors. We kind of help you navigate the three different strategies. And, I'm also available if you guys are interested, if anyone's ready to kind of get started and do some action, get some properties set up. I'm happy to see if that's something we can help you with, or we can kind of point you in the right direction. So if you're interested in doing that, send me a direct message and we'll kind of link up for a quick call. So I'm pretty excited this week. We've got Cody here from Container Home Company. And container homes, as you guys know, is definitely a popular item, not only for investors, but for guests that are staying in short-term rentals. For those of you jumping on, please put a yes in the comments to make sure that you can hear us okay. And then also, we're going to spend some time here, so feel free to throw any questions in the comments, and we'll definitely try to save some time towards the end of this to kind of cover those. So Cody, thanks so much for taking the time today. Would love to hear a little bit about your background and kind of how you got into this.
Of course. Yeah. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. So where I got started in this was, I've been obsessed with Airbnbs. My father-in-law, he's had them he's been in everything early. He was in Bitcoin in 2012, which I wish I was him. And he also got into the Airbnb game really early. And he was telling me like, man, you got to invest in these things, like real estate's a no-brainer. And I didn't take it super serious at first. And then, when he just showed me the back end of his Airbnb, and he's like these numbers do not lie. And that's in my market in Cincinnati where I live, which is horrible too, by the way. But he has a fourplex and he was doing incredibly well with just the 4 units he had there. And since then he's expanded even more. But that got me really interested and intrigued. I personally have stayed in a significant amount of Airbnbs over the years myself. And I remember my, enjoyable experiences and my poor experiences. And I noticed that the more that you can make a genuine experience, like something that's memorable, the more I would be, apt to stay there myself. So I'm like, if I'm going to provide a product to other people, why would I not make the exact same thing? So through all of that came the culmination of creating, doing these shipping container tiny homes. I'd love to tell you we invented the idea of doing them, but we didn't. We just hopped on the bandwagon, but found a way to make them much more affordable than, a lot of ADUs that people make, and to make them really practical for people. It took a lot to design, how can we fit as much as we can in 160, 320, or even, more sometimes square footage. And I think that we've come up with something that, we have a lot of repeat buyers, which to us is the best metric that we're doing something right. So that's kind of how it got us into it. And we've just been expanding ever since in different areas, into different places outside of the Airbnb market, even, as well as into some, more crazy and futuristic looking homes, which I'll show everybody later.
Awesome. So how long have you guys been doing this?
We've been doing it just over a decade now, and we've been able to do everything from Airbnbs to homeless, shelters and things like this. This is actually a conversation I had today as well with a gentleman. He said that he knows somebody who's looking to purchase land and to put something really affordable on it. So this is going to be an opportunity for that, as well as grants that people are given from the government. So that's another one of those things that is an opportunity that I have yet to hear another real estate investor speak about, is the grants that are freely given to you by the government to create affordable housing. So without going on a whole tangent on that, that's just another one of the opportunities that I've seen some people take advantage of, and they've bought, 50, 100, 150 units at a time from us.
Nice. Very cool. And, I don't usually like digging into the price early on, but what's the average price of the container homes that you guys provide?
Mm-hmm. Sure. $50,000 is the cheapest that we standard provide. We can do them cheaper. They're just going to be stripped down, less, quality, countertops aren't going to be granite anymore. Toilets not going to be as fancy, et cetera, all the way up to $100,000 for our real luxury unit.
Okay. So 50 to 100,000. We've looked at other options that are kind of, ADUs and tiny homes. And, that price point is definitely very competitive with that. Even if you're looking at, smaller log cabins and things of that nature. And so it's definitely an interesting option from the numbers standpoint, from return on investment, for sure.
Sure. And when we talk about cabins, a lot of people talk to us about this because there's a lot of people who buy them around and in national parks or just in mountainous areas in general. So that's one of the biggest objections we always get is like, why would I do this over a cabin? And the reason is because you're asking about cabins in the first place. Like your mind is on them because that's the standard. That's what everybody does. And they're safe. They work. It's not like I'm not here to trash cabins. I love staying in them when I go to Gatlinburg myself and other places similar. But the problem is everybody has cabins. So if you're going to Gatlinburg, why would somebody stay in yours versus one of the other 11,000 cabins that they can stay at in Gatlinburg? Well, there's not really any good reasons for that. I mean, none of these places have backyards, right? It's a cliff that's the backyard. So you can't make a real experience there. So the container home is the reason that people would choose your property versus somebody else's. Because you're right, they're pretty close in price a lot of the times, but again, especially if we're thinking about short-term rentals like Airbnbs, that's the uniqueness of the stay that you're not going to get much of anywhere else.
And what have you seen, having done this so long and kind of have clients? What's the average nightly rate on these container homes?
Yeah, so it totally, I've had some people, they try to call it BS in comment sections and things like that. It really depends on the location. Again, if you were to do it in Cincinnati where I am, and we have whatever, 50 plus or 50 max % occupancy rate, obviously you're going to be making far less. You'll get a really nice, townhome or, big apartment and, right in downtown Cincinnati, and it's $120 a night. You're not going to really beat that here in Cincinnati. So without, going super long-winded, $200 to $300 per night is the average that we see people receiving. So somewhere between $200 to $300. And, we expect that you should receive around a 75% occupancy. Again, this totally depends on the area. If you're here in Cincinnati, even if you have a container home, sorry, you're not getting 75% occupancy. It's just not going to happen because the location just isn't great. But assuming it's in a fair location that, you're used to seeing good numbers at, 75% is realistic, even in the market today.
Yeah. And even if you went very conservative at $200 a night and 20 nights stay, you're at $4,000 a month in rental revenue on something that, to get set up was, potentially 50,000 to get it set up. Right. So that's definitely a pretty quick return on your investment. And, I can see why folks want to do multiple ones. Right. So it's just kind of like a cash register once you get it set up.
Yeah. And cleaning is cheaper too, right? Because, you're not cleaning a 3,000 square foot house. So you're not having to look at every single room for all the candy that the kids throw all around. It's pretty darn easy to see. It's a very open floor plan. It's really hard to hide things and damage things. And if something is damaged, it's very easily seen. But since there's not so many knickknacks and, wall art everywhere and whatnot, the likelihood of things getting damaged, which I know isn't a super problematic thing, but it does happen. It's very rare to happen in these units. And another reason it's very rare to happen is, again, I've never heard anybody talk about this, but when you have a 3-bed, 2-bath, you're having families. The good thing is you're probably getting some more people staying at your places. The problem with that is you have far more damages when kids are involved or multiple families are involved, because usually alcohol is involved and usually holes in, drywall or broken tables may be involved as well.
Right.
With these small units, it's a husband and wife, or maybe a husband and wife and a kid or two. It's very uncommon that we have any sort of damages happening to these properties because you just generally have a different audience who's willing to pay $200 to $300 per night for a 1-bed, 1-bath, unit.
So have you seen any degradation in the popularity and kind of the, because at some point you would think that it's no longer this big nostalgic thing that people want to do, but I mean, it's been pretty consistent. I think to your point earlier, there's not a lot of options out there for container homes just in general in most areas. So what is your outlook on, if I'm going to try to look at a 10, 15, 20-year plan, is this something that's really sustainable?
Yeah, I would say it is. And the reason is because I've known about container homes even before I started 10 years ago. I knew about it 5+ years before that. A lot of people I talk to, they know what it is now, but when's the last time you saw one? I mean, just think of, for anybody watching right now, think about the last time you personally looked at one in person. You probably haven't ever. And if you have, it's very seldom. So the tiny home thing is more popular. I think most people have seen at least a tiny home so far. but a container home, still pretty uncommon. So we don't have any concerns in regards to that, in regards to the longevity of it. Obviously, can't tell the future, so I don't want to make any sort of promises or anything like that. But yeah, I don't think that there's going to be any sort of die off of that anytime soon. I mean, unless you see BlackRock starting to buy tens of thousands of these at a time, I don't think it's going to be a concern.
No, that makes sense for sure. And my wife and I have stayed at a container home. It was actually like a 12 unit stacked building with each individual container homes. And we stayed there in Jacksonville on our way back from some of our properties in Tampa. And it's definitely something that I would recommend somebody do, especially if they're thinking about investing in it. It's it kind of gives you a definite firsthand experience with it. So let's dig into some of the options here.
Sure.
Let's see here.
Yeah, so we got a 20-foot, a 40-foot, and then a luxury option. I'll show you the luxury one at the end. But, for the 20-foot, and all of these actually can be made with a top deck, as you see on this one. Strongly encourage it, especially for people who are struggling to have a lot of space, right? We talk to a lot of people, and they're like, hey, I only have a quarter acre, half acre, or something like that. And maybe, there's a lot of hilliness, especially when you're looking for cheaper land. That's usually a common thing. This just gives you another option to get way more square footage out of your home. I mean, literally double, right? I mean, you can put the grill up there. On our 40-foot, we've had people put the inflatable hot tubs up there, so they have a hot tub option that stays on there. And yes, these can hold that much weight. So,
really, you can get a hot tub on the roof.
Yeah, one of the blow up hot tubs. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I probably wouldn't encourage one of the hard plastic shelled ones. That would probably get a lot heavier. But the ones that it's just water as the weight up there. Yeah, we've never had any problem. I mean, you got to figure these go from China to America and back, and they're stacked 20 plus high. So if they can handle all the weight of what's inside of those, a little bit of water in a plastic, bowl isn't going to be too bad.
Sure.
But yeah, so this is the 20-foot. Obviously, this is going to be tight. A lot of people want to know, like, can I live in one of these? Like long term, you could, but you wouldn't want to. I mean, this is going to be tight. You can see the beds there, and then you've got your little stove top here and sink. This is your little kitchenette, and that's what you got. And then you'll have a fridge in there as well. Bathroom, it's going to be fairly similar to a lot of tight bathrooms that you'll see in 2-bed, 1-bath type houses. So again, everything that you need there. It's going to have all utility hookups, all electrical hookups. So you just it's all plugged in, rather, or hooked up in the container. So you just get to your property and you hook up your utilities there. You'll be good to go. So this is kind of the other side of it that you can see with the open doors. Not all of our units will have those open doors, but some people like them. It's one of those things, really just depends on your location, right? If you're like where I am in Cincinnati, this isn't going to be good in the winter because it's going to be cold. It's not going to be good in the summer because you can have mosquitoes. So there's not going to be any good time to have that. But there's the top deck. You can see there's, the flooring laid down. So it's going to be, you're not just trying to walk up on, an uneven, rooftop there. But so that's what that's going to look like. I can go through all the specs if you'd like me to. But 40-foot container. This is going for the black and brown vibe. A lot of people like that.
So Cody, let's back up just a second so people understand. So when you guys deliver these, and let's say I order the 20-foot one, how is that going to get delivered to my location? Is it going to already have the kitchen and the bathroom set up, and I'm ready to go? Tell me how that works. What's included?
It's as turnkey as possible. Everything that you see here, minus like the bedding was on there, but there's going to be a bed on there. There's going to be the full kitchen's going to be built out on there. The fridge is going to be in there. Microwave's going to be in there. 100% is going to be in there. So once it gets to your spot, I mean, you'll want to put your, things like towels, soap, or whatever you might put in there, bedding on there. But other than that, you are completely ready to go. You hook it up to utilities and you can start cash flowing it. There's nothing else that you need to do to it.
So you basically connect your sewer line for disposal, and then water line, and then your electricity, and then you're ready to go essentially.
Yep, that's it. Yep, we wanted to make this as turnkey as possible because if you're anything like me, I'm an idiot and I was not schooled in these things. Growing up, I couldn't have changed a tire, let alone spelled tire probably. So I wanted to make it as easy as I could for other people so that even if you weren't, savvy to any of these things, or you didn't want to have to then go buy additional things as like little slick up charges, you wouldn't have to worry about it.
So what do you recommend as far as do I get a slab down first? Do I do a deck? Do I just plunk it on the ground? What's the preferred mode?
Yeah. Sure. It's really going to come down to your location, right? Because there's going to be different permits or sort of zoning requirements depending on where you're located around the country. And every county is going to be different than the next one, right? It's unfortunate, it's frustrating, but sometimes we figure out that it's actually easiest to put it on a slab. A lot of the times we find out it's not, and that there's way more regulation against you doing those things. The nice thing is if you have unrestricted land, or if you're looking for land, looking for unrestricted land is going to be kind of your golden key into doing these things. Where do we find this unrestricted land? Well, first off, any land is going to tell you that is going to be one of the first things that you see on the listing if you're looking for new land. But the further away that you get from a more metropolitan or downtown city, the more likely you are to have that unrestricted land. But even if it is restricted land, it doesn't mean it's a no. It just means you might be a little bit unique with how you go about doing this. So in that context, let's assume that you have some stricter regulations. In our personal experience, 99% of the time, if you put it on a trailer, you've skirted past any sort of regulations that you would have of having the tiny home on your property. We can actually even give it a VIN number so that it's defined as an RV, literally no different. And when you get it on site, you can just build a deck all the way around the three sides of it so that you can still pull it out on one end. But to anybody who's looking, they would have no idea that it's not on a slab.
Very cool. Very cool. Like it.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. So 40 foot, it's going to be, very, very similar. As you can see, this is going to have some nicer fixtures and whatnot in it, and maybe a little bit more aesthetic. It's going to have a couch that's in the living area, and that's going to be right next to here in the kitchen. And then on the other side is going to be, the bed I already showed you, but this is where the bed and the master bath is going to be. So that's going to be in its own private room. So you can either do it as a one bed that's just got a bigger living area for this, or what we find a lot of people want to do is they'll probably put like bunk beds. Again, think of what you think with like an RV. You'll have your master bed in the back, and then you'll have, generally like, 2 bunks on each side. It's going to be a very similar layout that you can do to that. Or you can just make this couch where did it go? You can make this couch a pull-out couch so that this can be used as a couch during the day, and then at nighttime the kids can sleep on it or whatever. And then we can also do a Murphy bed. We don't necessarily find a need for that so much in the 40-foot containers, but in the 20-foot it can be very, very beneficial. So, if we scroll back up here and imagine this bed just doesn't exist at all, and it's completely lifted up into the wall until it needs to be lived in, then you can pull it back down. We find that a lot of people enjoy that as well, to kind of open up the space in the 20-foot a little bit more.
Yeah, that makes sense. So refresh my memory, the 20-foot is how much?
50,000.
50,000. And then the 40-foot?
40-foot's 85,000.
85,000. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. So do you want me to play the walkthrough or no?
Yeah. Let's do that real quick.
Yeah, sure. So I've got it muted. There's not really anything to hear, but we're walking into the front door here, and we can also make these wheelchair accessible. I didn't know that was going to be such a popular thing, but we have found it to be rather popular. Kitchen, or the refrigerator would have gone on the other side of that, as you saw the open space. It's got a mini split for the heat and air for electric there. And this is going to be the master, or really the only bath in there. And you walk through that bath to get to the master bedroom here. So as you can see, you've got all of your shelving already built in. Obviously the bed's not laid down. And you've got another mini split in this room, and then you've got that view outside of that master. When it comes to space, and again, this is where the couch would have been in that picture. It's got really everything that you would need. We also keep ovens out of them. So as you can see, there's a stovetop there, but there's not an oven. Some people wonder why. They think that is just totally criminal. And there's a few reasons for that. The first reason is one of the really strange regulations that you'll see a fair amount of times is having an ADU on your property. You cannot have an oven, like an open, pull down oven that produces that kind of heat. I don't even know all the reasons why, frankly. One of my theories, and this is why we didn't do it in the first place before we even knew it was a regulatory problem, is it makes the 40-foot, 20-foot container very hot. If you've got a 400 degrees going for 30 minutes, in your 2,000 square foot house, it's not really a big deal. But when you're talking 160 to 320 square feet, I mean, that can get very hot. So it can warm up the place. And, specifically the summertime, that's a problem. So we also find when you Airbnb place out for a couple days to a week or so, you don't really need an oven. I mean, very few people we have found are even using the ovens when we've put them in the past. Yeah. Air fryer, microwave, stovetop gives you everything you need.
Sure. No, that makes sense.
Yeah. So, and then as you can see, there's the table there that you can, kind of lift up, and then everybody can sit around that table. So there's that. And then our crazy option here is our luxury model here. This is going to be, this is actually technically by definition, not a container home. This is going to be an aluminum and steel built. And you can see it's got this kind of 180-degree glass view, and it's got a walkout balcony on the top there. So this is what the view looks like from the inside. These are really beautiful. There's also right here, this is a skylight. So almost similar like a sunroof in a car that will pull back right there so that you can look at the stars from your bed at night. There's also privacy curtains that will pull back here. So you can see the rails for it right here. And it will pull back and wrap around the entirety of this so that you can have your privacy at night if you are not in a place where it already provides that privacy. And as you can see, somebody built a pool right on the deck that this is all in. Again, very wise decision. Just as a fair, I'm pretty sure everybody in your group probably already knows this, but putting a hot tub in any sort of property generally will increase the average nightly stay, or at least the occupancy, by a fair amount. So I encourage everybody in any area, a $5,000 hot tub. You can even get them used, lightly used. I would encourage people to do that. It's got no risk to it, and it's got almost all upside. They can just be a headache to maintain at times. And then this right here is the back room right here. So we have a model of this that has a back room that you can use as either a kitchen area, or you can use it as a second living room. And that's where the couch is, in the back room there. And then this is the bathroom. Bathroom is fairly large in this. I mean, it's going to be everything. I mean, it's as big as most houses, to be honest with you. And then you turn around, on the other side is the master shower there. So that is what that one looks like. And it's got these pretty cool LED lights that light up on the exterior of the property as well at nighttime. So yeah, that's what that one looks like. Again, that one's $100,000, and that one will be slightly trickier for us to ship. But again, shipping is covered in the cost of any of the models. The cost for shipping anywhere in the United States, I should clarify.
Nice. So so this one you mentioned is not really a shipping container. So it's just kind of a prefab design that you guys have constructed.
Yeah, that's right. So this one's going to be just over 400 square feet. So this one's going to be larger than either of the other two. But yeah, it's technically not a container. It's going to be a fair amount wider than shipping containers would be.
Got it. Yeah, no, that's definitely a very cool design. Have you already put that in like places where folks are doing multiple units of that?
Yes. Frankly, these look the coolest when you put these like on hills. Obviously, construction costs are going to be more for you to get a foundation built, on like the edge of a. But for you to be able to walk out of onto your balcony, and you're technically hanging off a cliff, technically speaking, very cool. But yes, we'll have people, and they will line them up on a hillside somewhere. And that's something that we're doing for ourselves, right? I mean, our business is selling these containers, but it'd be foolish for us not to get in some of this ourselves. So that's part of what we're doing right now, to be fully transparent, is building a kind of a community of these that we can rent all of them out. And as another little side note, that I encourage people to consider with these, right? We've talked a little bit about the cash on cash returns that you can have with these versus, conventional 3-bed, 2-bath kind of real estate. One of the things to also note, you can either rent these out and make your money from them. One of the things that I think you should at least consider, though, is you sell these things again on cash returns as well, just like in a normal commercial real estate property. You will probably not receive your 8 to 12% that you would hopefully receive off of what you're doing in annual revenue, but you can probably get pretty close there. So for an example, for this $100,000 unit, you will be able to rent this out more than our 40-foot or 20-foot, right? Because it's unique. I can almost guarantee you've never stayed in something like this. So let's assume that you're doing $350, $400 per night. This thing, depending on the occupancy rate, you can be making $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 per month. If that's the case, we'll go on lower numbers. Let's say that you made $60,000 this year. If you sold that, almost like a 10x multiple, if you want to think of it that way, $600,000 is what you'd be able to sell that for. I want to clarify, you will not sell this for $600,000 as a working Airbnb unit, but you'll be able to sell it for more than just the cost of the unit plus the land.
Yeah.
So you'll have, because again, back to the cap rate, I said cash on cash return. I meant to say cap rate in this context. When you think of cap rate is what you sell these on a lot of times. And if you can show somebody, hey, this is a fully functioning real estate business, you'll be able to sell it for a whole lot more than $100,000 one day. Even if somebody gives you half of that, they say, hey, I'll take this for $300,000 off your hand so I can have a fully running turnkey Airbnb business with one of these things. You bought $100,000, you bought $20,000 of land, 120 grand in, and you sold it for 300 grand a year later.
Nice.
Something to consider.
No, for sure. Well, the other thing too, I know that before we jumped on, you had mentioned the prospect of throwing these on a trailer and kind of putting them in an RV park, like anywhere,
Yeah.
like, close to, some of the natural parks and resorts. and paying the $80 per night to stay there, and you're basically able to still, have Airbnb guests come in and talk about arbitrage. You're able to do $250, $300 a night, and your cost to rent that spot that you've parked it in temporarily is $80 a night. And you potentially could be in Jackson Hole, you could be in, some Grand Canyon, like certain spots. That's definitely a very, very interesting model for sure.
Yeah. That's one of the biggest challenges that people come up with is either they don't have land yet, or they're waiting for the land, or they're waiting for the permits for the ADU for the land, or they're worried about being able to get utilities onto the land or the additional cost of that. Yeah, this would be a really quick and easy solution to that problem. Is even for people who are like, hey, I want this on my land. Cool. Well, while you're waiting, why don't you make money off of it so you can help pay for that land, right? So, somewhere like Jackson Hole, again, I don't want to give away all of the inside baseball or whatever, but and Jackson Hole, Wyoming is, depending on what software and tool you're using, is the top grossing spot in the entire United States. $171,000 per year is the average revenue. If you look at the kinds of properties that people are renting out on Airbnb, I wouldn't want to live like long-term in one of these places. I mean, they're very, a lot of times outdated and whatnot, but they know they bought it 40 years ago for $250,000. And now because of the demand for that area and the Grand Tetons and whatnot, their house is worth $1 million that they bought $200,000 just a handful of years ago. And now they're renting this thing out for $500 to $700 per night. Easy. And again, the place it's trash. It's not anything aesthetic. It's not an experience at all. It's a place to sleep and you can't even see the Grand Tetons. So imagine being in an RV park for $80 to $100 a night, renting this thing out for, again, $350, $450. It's a real experience. And they wake up to the Grand Tetons themselves. In my opinion, it's kind of a no-brainer to do it. And again, you don't have to have any land to do that.
No, I like it. It's very interesting. So you mentioned that you guys are working on a project with the more modern ones. Where is that going to be, or can you say that yet?
Yeah.
I'd love to come visit.
Sure, totally. So the two places that we're going to be doing it is going to be in Gatlinburg, which is obviously Tennessee, and the other is going to be here near us in Hocking Hills. So Hocking Hills in Ohio is one of the, if not the most beautiful place in Ohio. And it actually has pretty much the exact same nightly rental rates and annual rates as Gatlinburg does. And it's, a little bit closer to home. And I've got, some people who I'm friends with who would like to personally work on the project itself. So those are going to be the two places that we put those ourselves.
Very cool. When do you anticipate them being ready?
Fully finished with like the entire village, quote unquote, per se. I'm going to say 6 months, 6 to 9 months.
Nice. Okay. So fairly soon.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. No, I'll keep an eye out for that for sure. So we do have a couple questions, Cody. Let me just kind of run through them here.
Yeah, sure.
Let's see. Let's show it on here. All right. Someone's looking into it now. That's good. So I'm going to mention, guys. So Cody is offering a 5% discount off of his pricing for any B&B Investing Group member. And so if you are seriously interested in learning more about this, send me a direct message and I'll make sure I connect you guys to check it out. All right. So the next question is, who will connect the utilities?
Yeah, great question. So we'll do everything to bring it on site. Again, shipping is free. We'll bring it on site to you. But once it's on site, we'll have you take care of whatever you do with it once it's there. We'll put it wherever you want. If you want it on a slab, if you want it on a trailer, deck, or whatever else, we'll put it on that for you. But once it's actually there, it'll be your responsibility at that point, simply because everybody does it different. And if we had to have a strategy and somebody available for every one of the specific different use cases, that'd be a whole different department we'd have to set up to be able to do that. So once it's there, you'll be able to set up utilities.
Cool. Cost for the 40-foot, I think we covered that. It's $85,000. And then the turnaround time from build to delivery. So if you order that this week, how long does it take to get it?
6 to 8 weeks from the time that you put money down. And that's for any of the 3 units. 6 to 8 weeks from the time that you put the money down to the time that it's actually on your land.
6 to 8 weeks. Okay. That's not too bad. Let's see here. Do you have companies that finance them? If you give it a VIN, could it be financed same as a park model home or RV? That's a great question.
Really good question. Yes. So yes, we have 2 companies who you can go through to get them financed. I can either, send them to you, or I can put them in the chat myself. But yeah, there's 2 groups that will finance, and they will specifically finance for ours. I don't want to say they finance any and all tiny homes. So I want to make that caveat. So yes, we will also finance in-house 50% down, 50% over 48 months at 8%. That's an option you can do as well. And obviously, we're not going to do all the credit checks and all those things that these, more conventional companies will do and banks will do. And then to the last part of the question about RVs, yes, if it has a VIN, they don't care. It's not like they're going to ask for pictures of it. Like, it means nothing to them. They just want to know what's it cost. And again, what's your debt to income ratio, credit score, and income.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. What are the square footage of the 20 and the 40 foot?
160 and 320.
160 and 320. Okay.
And the 320 is used so well that, again, you could live in that and you would be perfectly fine to actually live in that. The 20 foot, if you wanted to personally live in it yourself. And the reason I say this is because there's always somebody when I give presentations or talk like this that wants to live in them themselves because they're like, so affordable. The 20 foot, you would really not want to live in that. It would be very tight to live in. For a week, it's great, but to live in, it would be very challenging.
No, that makes sense for sure. All right, so I'm going to reach out to Michelle with more info. Like I said, if anyone else is interested in more details, just shoot me a DM. Do these catch fire?
We haven't had the experience yet. I mean, I'm sure if you put enough gasoline on it, it will catch fire. But I mean, it's a metal shipping container. It's the same ones that, again, ship across from China here to the States and vice versa. So they're going to catch on fire just as well as anything else would.
All right, and that's along the same lines. How sturdy are they against hurricanes, et cetera?
Mm-hmm. The biggest aspect that will play relevance here is what it's set on, right? If it's on blocks, puppy's going to roll right over. If it's on a slab and actually locked down to a slab, you should be fine, right? I mean, you got to figure back to my, shipping from China and back example, these things are going to be going through some pretty intense storms and things like that. And when it comes to tipping and everything like that, I mean, you don't hear very often of those kinds of things happening, and they deal with some serious movement and between waves and wind and whatnot. So, are they going to be the best thing? Are they going to be better than a stick-built house for hurricanes? No, they will not be. So if it's a genuine concern if this is going to be super consistent, I would definitely consider at the very least, putting it on a slab. And even at that, I would probably seriously consider it.
Okay. Someone said they missed the photos. Could you please share the links? So this Facebook Live will be replayed on the group, so you can actually watch the replay. But like I said before, if you want to get more details, just send me a DM and I'll send you that link for you to check it out as well. Somebody wants to know, are there any homes in Georgia that we can preview?
No, not in Georgia that you could preview. Because here's the challenge. We get asked this a lot and people are like, hey, I'm in LA. Can I, walk through one that you've sold in LA? Even if I did theoretically have one that was sold in LA, I don't have a close enough relationship with the gentleman who bought it to, just let you walk through it tomorrow. So I for these people, I can ask them if, they would give consent for you to walk through it or check it out. But obviously I can't give permission, at least on a live right here, for somebody who I don't know. But we do have them in Georgia though. Yes, we definitely do have them in Georgia to preview. I'm not sure. So again, I'll put a pin in that. But again, once y'all can get in conversation together privately, hopefully we can work something out where you can actually walk through one of a past client's.
Perfect. And just to clarify, the pricing that we've been talking about, guys, also includes shipping. And so that's your all-in cost, essentially. Mm-hmm. And so I know I had asked you earlier too, Cody, you guys also can ship internationally, correct?
That's correct. Yeah. So it won't be free shipping anymore if it's international, but yes, we can ship anything international. We'd be happy to do so. We've done it plenty of times.
All right. Because we are definitely looking at some projects in the Caribbean. So that would definitely be interested. So the price point is going to be about the same, but it'll have the additional expense for the shipping cost.
That's right.
Okay.
Yep. And obviously it depends on where it's located, right?
Yeah, for sure. Another question, can we visit you to preview your inventory? So do you have like a shop in Ohio that people can come into? Yeah.
So not necessarily like a shop that's like, fully set up like that. But I mean, yeah, you're more than welcome to walk through the containers with us. And we'd love to, one of the things that actually is going to be done by the end of this month that people can do is, I talked about my father-in-law earlier. He has some land here very close to us in Kentucky that he is wanting to put, use for Airbnb. And I was like, hey, let me put one of my containers on here when it's not being rented out. I'll walk people through it. So that'll be an option that people can check out again by beginning of year at latest.
Cool. And I'm definitely going to, come see the Gatlinburg one when that gets finished. And
yeah, totally
come up there and hang out and stay and check it out for sure.
Yeah. I probably shouldn't have mentioned that because I feel like that's now like everyone's going to flock to buying them and putting them there because it's like the best place to put them.
Well, essentially once you have it set up, it's going to be a good, option for you guys to demo this stuff too. So
it will.
Can we get insurance on these homeowners insurance?
Obviously, every insurance company is going to be slightly different, but I would be highly skeptical if you would be able to get homeowners insurance. You would probably be more, and again, not an attorney, not a CPA, so all that fun stuff. But you'd probably be more likely to be able to get business insurance and get it covered under that, right? I've got a friend, and he has a $17,000 espresso machine that had some problems with it, and the insurance covered the entirety of that. I think this would you'd have more luck of this getting covered under that context, or again, putting it on a trailer, getting a VIN, and then you'd be able to get an RV insurance on it.
Cool. Got it. Okay. Someone else would like to visit the Tennessee property. Yeah, we're going to have folks lined up.
Right.
We're going to have folks lined up to go see that. That's going to be awesome.
Sure.
So listen, Cody, this has really been very informative. I appreciate you again taking the time, and would love to have you back as well once you get closer to opening up some of those resorts that you're talking about. That'd definitely be cool. And for those of you, again, that are interested, the easiest thing, because folks that are watching the replay, just throw interested in the comments section on this Facebook Live replay, and we will put that there now. And I'll actually reach out to you and make sure you can connect with Cody to get more details. And be able to get that 5% discount as well if you end up purchasing one.
Mm-hmm. Hey, maybe I'll do the next interview that we do. Maybe I'll do it in one of the container homes, and I'll be able to walk through it in Gatlinburg with you guys or something.
Perfect. Yeah, well, maybe I'll come up there and do the interview in person with you. So
that'd be great. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Awesome. So listen, everybody, thanks again for jumping on BNB Live. Always remember, feel free to reach out to me as well if you're ready to get started and build a scalable short-term rental business. These container homes is definitely a good option to put a project together and get that passive income started. So feel free to reach out to me directly with a DM for that. Cody, thanks again, buddy. I really appreciate it. And everybody, we'll see you again next week. Thanks again for jumping on.
Awesome. Thanks so much, guys.
All right. Take care.
Thanks for jumping on the BNB Investing Podcast this week. Please click on the subscribe and like button below. For more trainings, property tours, and content, you can join my BNB Investing Facebook group by clicking below. If you are ready to grow your short-term rental portfolio and maximize your monthly income, you can click on the link below to schedule a quick strategy call with Rich or someone from his team to see how we can help or point you in the right direction. Stay tuned for our next episode and hope to see you on the BNB Investing Group podcast.